I'm Shane Dorian.
Sean Briley.
Poncho Sullivan.
Jerry Lopez.
I'm trying to think how many years that would be.
I started surfing pipeline when I was like
13 or 14 years old the first time I surfed the pipeline.
12 or 13.
And I've been surfing pipeline
For over 30 years.
for about 30 years.
This is my first time as a Wave of the Winter judge, and couldn't ask for a more solid group of judges.
Well, what we're looking for in the judging of, what is the wave of the winter, personally for me, the size of the wave matters. The intensity of the wave, that's a big factor in considering what kind of score is that ride going to get. That's just the wave we're talking about. And then, of course, the ride, degree of difficulty, the late takeoff. Is he in control? Does he look like he's got it together? Is he just like hanging on by his fingernails? Sometimes it's pretty tough because the differences are pretty subtle.
It's a submission-based format. I just really like it because it's really exciting when the winter really flares up and guys start sending it on really heavy waves, and those waves really stand the test of time. There's always a lot of amazing waves, but there's only a few that really stand the test of time, and every year we get a couple.
The perfect day at Pipe, best way I could describe it is you wake up in the morning, it's firing, you already know you should have been out there already. Pick the right board and go out there, and hopefully you kind of pick the right waves, and I think that's one of the hardest things to do.
Here on the North Shore, and especially at Pipeline, when the waves are heavy, you have to be in the exact right mindset. You can't just be like, I'm gonna wax my board and just paddle out and catch a couple waves and have a nice afternoon surf. It's not like that at all.
When the waves are firing, picking that perfect wave, imagine how many waves come through the whole winter. To find the wave of the winter at Pipeline, that's a hard task.
A good day out here, you probably getting some of the best waves of your life. The satisfaction you get from that it's indescribable. It's why we surf this wave. It's why we risk our lives to be out here. And there's no wave like Pipeline, and that's the feeling that I live for. And it's why I surf this wave and try to get the best wave I can.
After the dismal last few weeks we've had of north swell and east-northeast wind swell, it looks like hope is in sight. Looking at the long range, we got 2 to 3 northwest and north-northwest swells. It actually looks like that pulse tonight and tomorrow is a little more west than it is right now. And should start moving some sand off the reef, so hopefully tomorrow morning's pretty good. It's already picking up now. I didn't get here till the second week in November, and then I got here and it just rained. And now, right here at the end, last couple days of November, looks like things are looking up for us. We finally got some swell with a little bit of west in it. Got a little taste of some tubes yesterday and the day before, and hopefully it'll be sending us off into a good December.
know, Pipeline and Backdoor and Off-the-Wall has dominated the competition ever since its inception, but there are opportunities, you know, on some of the outer reefs, you know, even waves like Sunset Beach to get the wave of the winter. So I thought it was really cool to see a phenomenal airdrop make the cut from Waimea from Tori Meister.
Yeah, December's been a funky month. We kind of got a few random days, like at Backdoor and Off-the-Wall. It was kind of like connecting through because all the sand from the north swells like filled up the reef, and it was kind of just going straight through. It was like almost one wave, which is normally like pipe, Backdoor, Off-the-Wall, then Insanity.
So that's what made Insanity so good.
It becomes wintertime, you know, all of November and December is all wintertime, but so often here on the North Shore, it just seems like it's a little funky during those months, and then as soon as New Year's hits, it seems like things just start lining up every single year. And the waves just turn on a Pipeline. You get a lot more west swells, you get a lot less sand on the reef, you get a lot less beach, the beach is gone, so there's not a lot of backwash or refraction, and that's when everyone's getting the sickest barrels.
January coming up, I think we're pretty much due for a few west swells. So hopefully the shootout, we score some waves. I mean, right here on the forecast, we can see swell on the way. It's pretty far out, but I think it's about to start getting good. Yeah, I've been waiting, I mean, for 3 months for an actual pipe swell, so we'll see.
Thank you for joining us for the 2018 The Hui Backdoor Shootout in memory of Duke Pa'oa Kahanamoku.
Beautiful ray of sunlight sneaking in over the ko'olaus onto the pipeline.
And the amphitheater is set.
The Backdoor Hui Shootout, really, the spirit of that event is about just honoring the sport of kings. This year was honoring Duke Kahanamoku, and that event I've noticed really elevates tube riding more so than your average surf competition, just because of the actual format itself. They've gotten phenomenal surf the last 2 years.
I remember paddling out the Backdoor Shootout the first morning, and it was so beautiful. It was like 10 to 12 feet. It was as good as pipe gets, and I remember the sun coming over the hill, and I was like, wow, like sheet glass pipeline, you don't see it like this often. And to me, that was a real treat, you know? It's like, it was almost so good that it was almost harder to ride because there was no imperfections in the wave.
Nathan Florence with Backdoor on an absolute screamer, and it is a perfect wave.
Wow! If that's not a 10 or a 11 or a 12.
12, I don't know what is. That right there is absolutely crazy.
Matsuoka, 27 years old. I'm from Sendai, Japan. Guarantee best wave of my life, for sure.
As you take a look at this, this is signature Toy Meister.
That was a long, extending type of backdoor barrel.
Going through backdoor and coming out.
Might get the opportunity to get the best wave of your life with only like 3 of your buddies out. So if that opportunity does come, you want to be like ready for it, I guess, like ready to go, because that's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing, just to have that set come in and be where you actually want to be on the wave. And it's pretty sick to see that.
I definitely think February is my favorite month because I feel like the winds are really nice and consistently like clean, offshore.
It's like the peak of winter has passed.
There's not as many big storms like washing through, and there's not as many giant swells, but we get a lot more medium swells. See, that's that swell, 8 to 9 at 15. It's a pretty good pipe, you know, it's not huge, but then look at this later in the week. 10 to 11, I mean, it's showing us promising signs like far out into the forecast to the 20th, you know? Maybe if that interval changes a little bit on the February 13th.
That could be a good day right there.
That could be a good day.
Wave of the winter entries this year. There were a lot of really good rides. There was a diverse group to go over, everything from, 4 foot, 5 foot off the wall to 12-foot pipe.
There were so many great pipe waves, and then there was also so many great backdoor waves. And I had to rewatch them over and over again from different angles to just see exactly, how challenging was the actual tube ride. The commitment from the takeoff. Did each rider have sort of a clear, easy line through the barrel and not sort of get mesmerized by the intensity of the wave itself, but also had to factor in the actual surfing.
It came down to Nathan Florence's wave and Kato. They were both, 10 or 11 point rides. They were seriously considered for wave of the winter. And Nathan came out on top.
In the end, it just came down to Nathan's wave, longer, deeper, late takeoff, just navigating the foam ball, and he backdoored the next section. For me, it was hands down, it was the wave of the winter.
This was like as good of a backdoor wave it ever gets. I just loved it because it was super, super deep, and the wave gave him a total second section. A lot of the time at backdoor, you don't get the longest barrel ever, but this one, he was about as deep as you could have been on the reef at backdoor.
So this is Nathan's wave. Gnarly drop. Lines it up, sets it up, and look how deep he's going in. I mean, he's so far behind that curtain, and the wave actually starts to grow a little bit, and then it sections and spits, and he's still behind the curtain. Now he's coming out, and it drops again, deeper. And now he's going into this marble section, all whitewater from the wave before. Comes out, has to straighten out, and all those suds. The wave of the winter.
My name is Nathan Florence, and I've probably been surfing pipeline for around 10 years now, 13 years since I was around 10.
He's right there.
So how does it feel to win the winner?
Wow, man. Are you serious? Oh my God. When that wave came in, it was just me and Mackay sitting there, and it looked like it looked weird, and it had like this growing section going towards off the wall kind of, and I was like, oh, maybe, and I was like, you know what? I don't care, I'm just gonna go and try. As soon as I dropped in, I was like, oh God, what did I do? I'm maybe not, didn't think I might come out of it just because it was going into off the wall, and a lot of times it clamps on that mid section of the reef. But it super oddly, it threw even wider right over that little channel section and then just spit. And I was kind of just like blind for a little bit, like, oh, wiggling, and it cleared, and I just seen the runway, and I was like, oh my God, and just started pumping, and then it kept throwing more and more little sections, kept being like, oh, this is the last one, I'm not gonna make it through, and eventually it just like let me out into the foam and off the wall. I was like, just so hyped. I don't even know what to say. It means for the last like 5 years, we've put in so much time out at Pipe, and it's always like, you always have that thought every winter, like, oh, maybe this is the winter, maybe this is the one. Every session you're thinking it, like, maybe this is a session, I'm gonna get the wave of my life, or maybe the wave of the winter. And just through all those hours in at Pipe to finally win the wave of the winter, I'm just like speechless. I'm so hyped, especially after Koa won last year. I was like, damn it, I wanted to be like the first one of our generation to get it, and then he got it, and I was just like, that's it. Next year I'm just putting in even more time, and I'm just psyched it paid off.